Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. My name is Ibrahim Diallo, and this is part 12 of how to build a website from scratch. It's been a long while now. We went very far. We have a fully functioning website, and now we started on the admin section. The admin is not done yet, but today we're going to dig deeper inside the admin. We're going to create a few sections, or more like improve a few sections and add some CSS so it looks like something decent to work on. And yeah, that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's get started. And back to my Linux machine, we can check the website to see everything works, about me page, and also that URL I made up, Dashmania. You can put anything you want as long as it's not the obvious choice like administrator or managing or whatever, something like that from those framework we know. Anyway, what I want to do today is start by doing a little bit of CSS to make sure we have a decent place to work on. It's kind of hard when you have no style at all and you're trying to work and nothing looks like the way it's supposed to be at the end. So I think, yeah, it's a good thing to add the CSS since we have already the basic HTML in there. Also, I always make use of my reset. I think I'm going to be changing a few things in the reset because it added some styles that I'm not interested in because I keep reusing it from website to website, and sometimes I add some details in there and I end up reusing it everywhere. So some of them are not relevant to this website, so I'm going to remove that. If you remember in the previous video, we left some space for the classes. Today we're going to start filling them up. I'm using that BEM or BEAM namespace to create CSS. I don't know how it's pronounced exactly, but I thought it was pretty cool. I don't follow it to a T because, I don't like following things to a T and then at the end I'm limited by the framework. So might as well write something that I think feels natural to me, something I can come back and edit and it makes sense to me. So yeah, that's why it's a little different than if you go to their website and check how they did it. I think it came from Yandex, the Russian search engine. And yeah, they started this thing. It's not that they started, but they use that method. So, because it's hard to say anybody started anything in programming because, anybody can do anything. You never know where it came from. It's just there, It's not like you can patent code. I mean, people try to, but it's still a mess. Anyway, I'm going to try to make like a simple design, have the header on top, the menu on the left, and the content on the right. If you keep following, you'll see how I try to approach this. Very simple. I am not going to be making a lot of HTML change, only adding classes name, mainly, nothing else really. And it should be pretty easy. By the way, I know a lot of people who are getting started, they don't really know where to start. Should I start with HTML? Should I start with CSS? Should I start with JavaScript? Well, here's how I started. I started straight with JavaScript, okay? And while learning JavaScript, I mean, you're not going to be using JavaScript on its own, so you're going to be manipulating HTML with it. So by working with JavaScript, I was using the HTML part of it, and it kind of made me realize the importance of each thing I'm writing. For example, I'm not just gonna put a paragraph. I like by using it with JavaScript, for example, changing the content of a paragraph, I get to see, oh, so that's what a paragraph does, and so on. Each little part, basically, like how do I use the title tag? By trying to dynamically change it using JavaScript, I realized this is what the title tag is for, and so on. It's I mean, I know it's not going to be for everybody. Not everybody would want to start with JavaScript, but I was more into the programming part of it. And just doing HTML and CSS was kind of not the best introduction. So JavaScript helped a lot for me. And also, once I mean, of course, I didn't like become really good at this just by doing JavaScript, but the more I did it, the more I was exposed to creating websites, and the more I use it, the better I got. And one thing that I wouldn't have gone on my own was CSS. CSS is simple yet complex at the same time because of the way the rules apply, like what happens first, which style happens first, the way you name things. I guess it's one of those things you're gonna have to do for years before you actually get a very good grasp for it. But this is not an endorsement, but I learned a lot from lynda.com. I was there for like, I registered for like a month or something, and I tried to basically drink every CSS I saw in there. Everything I saw, I tried to redo it, and it made a lot of sense. So yeah, so that's something I suggest. If you want to learn CSS, only CSS, like lynda.com is a great place to get started also. And also, here's another tip. Try to see a design you like and redo it. It doesn't matter if your final product doesn't look like it. Most of the time, your final product is not going to look like it, and it's going to look like crap actually. But you know what? It's a very good way to learn. So yeah, I highly suggest you do that. Go to google.com and then try to redo that exact first page. You're going to see how challenging it is. Seriously. As you can see, I'm not here. All I'm doing is writing some CSS. This episode is mostly going to be about CSS. I'm just trying to make things align the way I think makes sense, and also try to give good class names, because with this convention I'm trying not to reuse class names. That way, not exactly reuse, but what's the right term for this? Um, I'm not gonna be nesting class name. There you go. Very rarely you'll see me nesting some CSS. I try to make things as unique as possible, and if another object uses the same thing, I'll just give it the same class name and get it over with. But I'm not gonna make sure, for example, anything under nav and then p and then li will look a particular way. I'm never gonna do that with this convention. I'm just gonna try to um, make it easy to change in the future. For example, if a particular thing doesn't look great, I can just delete it entirely. For example, here you can see I'm struggling a little bit with the way the navigation looks like. I was not sure. Well, I didn't really have a clear idea how I want it to look like. So I'm testing different ways, different looks, and doesn't always look the way you want. So that's something you're gonna have to get used to. Your design is the way things look in your head is not gonna be the same as the way they look like in real life. Like here, I'm trying to make the menu bold, change different colors, but it looks off. And another thing I didn't pay attention to here is because the page is not complete yet. So maybe this would look great if the whole page is complete, but at this stage, not really. And also, before I used to try to limit the number of classes I put on the page but it doesn't save me much really. As long as it's something I can reuse and I can come back later and read, it's fine. And as long also I don't add like 10 classes named to the same element, because that doesn't make any sense. So you see, I'm just playing around with values here. I'm not sure how it's supposed to look like how it's going to look great, because I want to make something that's not going to be distracting. Basically, you want to have an admin that you can come and use without being distracted. And believe it or not, design does that. You can, when you have something that's just off on the page, you try to work, you always have this thing boiling in there and you don't know what to do. Yeah. So basically I took a break here and came back and started to delete a few things, and decided to add some padding and make it align left, and add a border, and try something a little different. And I think it looks okay. If I can just continue with this variation, it should be something decent. And by the way, I'm not a designer. I still do design, but I'm not a designer. And sometimes the best way to do things is to have someone who knows how to do the job do it. And other times, well, since we're doing things for our own blog that we created from scratch, might as well learn these things on our own. I should be linking one cool article I read recently about design, and I mean, I don't apply it 100%, but Actually, I don't even apply 20%, but just knowing about it makes you a better designer. Because I think like even this page a few years ago, I wouldn't be able to come up with a design like that. It's not amazing, but it's still, you know, it's okay. It's okay. CSS is hard. It's one of those things because it's not an exact science and you don't get exact results. It becomes annoying at some point. It's not like JavaScript where you want your task, you want something to happen and you write the code to make just that happen. But with CSS, it's more like a visual thing. It depends on your taste, what you think is beautiful or whatever, the time you're living in, because, you know, design changes with time. So you basically, let's say it's art, okay? Something that looks crappy may look great to someone else, you know? Like a lot of people complain about the way Craigslist look like, but I think it's not bad. It's just that it doesn't have you know, animated JPEGs or images around. It doesn't have any crazy thing going on. So I think I like Craigslist design. Yeah, I know I just turned you off. You're probably gonna close the video right now. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So let's look at what I'm gonna come up with here. Usually when I'm not recording, this is not exactly my process. I do a lot of things on the console that you see below in the inspector on Chrome. But here I was having trouble with my computer. It was kind of slow. So this video is accelerated, so you don't see that. A lot of things were not happening real time for me. So I decided at some point, okay, you know what? It's much easier to just refresh the page and have things work. But yeah, usually I do a lot of things on the inspector, and once I think the design is good, I copy it and paste it back to my editor. Yeah, now I think I have I mean the left side of the navigation is done, but now I don't know what to do with the other side, the right side. It looks weird, and I don't know which color to put. I hope you can see the colors on this video because YouTube's gonna be compressing this, and it's gonna look a little different than what I'm seeing right now. And of course, I'm a freak about formatting, so there you go. Anyway, this looks okay. Once we're gonna have content, it's gonna make much more sense. It's gonna look more decent, I guess. I'm just gonna go and explore the content. Since I have basic design now, anything I write is gonna be inside this format we have now. Because all our admin sections, the stuff that's gonna happen, are gonna be inside this the right section, right lighter section. As you can see, my computer almost froze there. Yeah, this was giving me a hard time today. Plus, I didn't have any. Oh, now that I'm looking, I see what's happening. I have updates going on. Oh well, too late. I recorded it already. Anyway, yeah, so I'm just gonna make sure also that based on the page I'm currently at, I can have that highlighted on the navigation section. For example, if I have the dashboard highlight, if I'm on the dashboard, I want that to be highlighted. If I'm on the article lists, to have that highlighted, and so on for every other link. I'm gonna make use of that feature we added to our framework, the slot. So I just check that variable again, gets locked. If it's the dash, just print whatever class name. If it's article list, if it's something else, whatever. With time, we're gonna be adding more links as we see fit. It's yeah, we're probably gonna have a little more than this. And of course, I have an error. Or like as I said, these are not errors; these are feedback, because I forgot to write it correctly. Good. Now we're back in business. Remember that little page we created? It's here now, and it works. Of course, the content is not formatted, which means we still need to do a little more CSS. I'm gonna do just a little bit on this particular tutorial, but on the next one, hopefully, I'll keep integrating it as we go. And that's the thing. I'm not gonna be doing just like dedicate a video to, okay, here we're gonna do pure CSS, because not all the elements of our framework is there yet. I mean, of our application is there yet. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of CSS for this part, and when we go to another part, I'll do also a little more of CSS and so on. We don't want to focus entirely on one thing because it doesn't make sense in the beginning. So I'm going to replace what we had before with a table because I think tabular data makes much more sense. Unfortunately, as I'm writing this, I have no idea how it's going to look like, so I just put a random number of columns, but I'll edit with time. That's the thing though. Well, by watching this video, you're seeing that the process of creating something is not scientific. I go with my guts basically. I see something that makes sense, I add it, and so on. It's not scientific, and anybody can do it basically. You just have to spend some time doing it, because again, with formatting. Yeah. I hope someone out there, one of you guys listening to this, is actually trying all this and seeing things on their own. Because you can build anything you want basically with these methods. All you have to do is spend some time working on it. And doing things in PHP is pretty easy. That's why I always come back to PHP. I go test a few other languages, then I come back to PHP because whatever I want to do, I just manage to do it right away. I don't have to think a lot or anything like that. It just works for me. Let's see how our page looks like. Errors again. We fix those. Oh, right. From the data I'm requesting, I didn't ask for it in the database, so I have to go back to the database. Make sure I add the date published. There you go. Now I can make use of it. Awesome. It looks very ugly, but that's fine. It's only CSS. If we add some CSS to that, we're gonna be good. Sometimes you see me like just pausing like that. That's because I'm thinking of a class name. Believe it or not, it's hard to come up with a class name because you have to come up with things you can reuse, something that makes sense, that's also unique. Sometimes down the line, I might create another class with almost the same name. So I want to make sure this is unique enough so I don't have to struggle next time I create a class name, basically. If my computer wasn't slow, this would have been a much faster process, but sorry, you have to watch. Anyway, I created those. Now I want to make sure that when I click on those links, it takes me to the page where I can edit those articles. That's what I'm going to be doing next. Should be easy enough. All I need to do is just get that particular article I'm editing and edit it. On my actual framework I'm running on my blog, I have a function just called find, and any data manager you call it to, it automatically figures out which table it's supposed to be from and just calls it. Unfortunately, we didn't add this here, but I guess in the future we should be doing it. So instead of doing get by ID and writing a query and trying to escape things, you can just do it automatic. Just call find. You don't even have to define it. The framework is smart enough to figure things out on its own. Okay. The reason I'm doing this check is because it returns multiple results and an array of results. So I want to just get the first result and get it over with. Maybe in the future also we'll have to create different error handlers for the admin. For example, have a special page because the admin is not something that's going to be seen by other users. So it'll be nice to have feedback, at least on the admin, like saying what went wrong. Hopefully it will never show up on production, but it's a cool feature to have. Eventually we'll log errors and try to do some things like that. But first we want to have a website that where you can edit content and display it on the page. That's all we want to do first. And then with time, we can keep on adding more and more stuff. For example, my framework, I worked on it for many years, so obviously I have all these features, but here, since I'm building everything from scratch and showing it to you, it's gonna take a little more time to get there. Actually, it's coming together much faster, because this video, for example, is like what, around 20 minutes long, but I recorded it for an hour and 10 minutes, I think. So it's accelerated. Almost every time I record, it takes at least an hour. So I'm not doing a lot of coding, really. An hour of coding is not a lot. So yeah. If I spend 2 hours of coding, maybe we'll get further. But I don't want you to be watching a very long video also, because I don't know how entertaining it is to listen to me just talk. Plus, at the end, I make the code available. So if you like that, you can just download the code for this episode and then work on your own and see how things work basically on your own. Explore different methods. You can modify the framework. You can do whatever you want with it. I promise I'm not going to sue you. Anyway, this is the interesting part. Actually, it's the most boring part. The most boring part for me in any framework is creating forms. I mean, on the admin, making forms, making sure that the user can type something and it saves it back to the database, because you have to do validation, you have to do a bunch of stuff like that. They're boring stuff, but they're necessary. You want to make sure you always validate your content. Anything that comes from the user should be treated like a nuclear bomb or something. Never trust the user. Even if in this case, we are the user. It's easy for let's say someone hack into your admin, they figure out your password. Once they come in, they can basically do some crazy things here. They can do some cross-site scripting, because sometimes they don't even care about your website. They just care about your users. They want to be able to steal your users. So they can easily do some cross-site scripting by, adding stuff in the database here. But yeah, so far we don't have a login system. I just put it there, but in the future we'll work on it, because I don't think it's relevant yet. I mean, it is relevant because we're doing the admin, but it's out of scope of this tutorial, basically. We will get there. We'll get there in the future. Of course, I forgot that all the fields that are currently on the database, so I have to do a quick check. We have the date added and the date published. And today there's a lot of noise where I'm recording, so if you can hear music in the background, I'm very sorry, but this is the quietest place I could find to record. Anyway, we're almost there. All we have to do now is print the content, and let's see how it looks like. Well, if we make it bigger, it looks nice. Here I'm just gonna guess, but in the future I'm gonna use CSS to make it dynamic. Okay, looks good. We can add a submit button. We're done. Button to save. That's it. We have an admin and a place to edit our articles. I mean, it doesn't look very nice because we didn't do any CSS on this particular part, but it works, and we can edit any of the articles. We'll have to add some CSS, some JavaScript validation, and so on to make sure we can save our article correctly. Oh, also the code inside the controller. And yeah, but that's it really. We created an admin and we styled it a little bit and have a section to actually modify our articles. Next time we'll probably add a section to add the articles, which should be very similar to this, but yeah, anyway. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and you should subscribe if you want to see more of those videos, and also don't forget to leave that thumbs up so I know that you're actually enjoying these videos. So yeah, that's it for today, and I'm out. Thank you.